Hey guys, how's it going? And welcome back to another episode. In today's episode, we're out here in the western part of Mérida, Yucatan. We are in Opichen, and we're gonna be taking our bike all the way out to El Centro, to the center of the city. But while we do that, we're gonna have a conversation. We're gonna talk. We're gonna sit here on the bike as we usually do. Hopefully not get run over by the potato chip truck. But we're gonna get on the bike and we're gonna get out of here. We're gonna be talking about how they are trying to keep you out of here. Who is they? Well, we know it's not these cute little puppies that are just hanging out here. Look at these guys. Oh my God, cuteness overload to the max. Look at this. So we know it's not they that's trying to keep you out of there. In fact, who is they? Who exactly is it that's trying to keep you out of coming to Mexico or even leaving your country? That's what we're gonna be talking about today as we hop on the bike and we take a tour, through the city, and we talk about this topic that, a lot of people, they're not really talking about. I bring it up on the, channel from time to time because it's a very important topic. And as the years have gone on, well, a lot of what I've said throughout the years has come true, and there's a lot of validity to it. Because I've said many years ago, they were gonna make it very, very difficult and very almost impossible for you to even leave your own country, and not just leave your own country, but to live in another country and settle down in another country. And sure enough, for a lot of you guys, it seems almost like impossible these days. But is it? Is it really? Well, that's what we're going to be talking about today. So let's just hop on the bike and get out of here because, I'm going to just want to, stay out here with these guys and just, play, with these little puppies all day long, or at least, throw one in my bag and bring them to Christian. So, all right, before I do that, let's get on the bike and let's have this conversation. We got a lot to trek. We have a lot to get out there. Again, if you guys already saw how I got out here, it took me, over 30 minutes or longer just to bike out here because I had to go deliver a t-shirt, that somebody bought from Christian. But now, we got to head out of here and go back to, to the centro and back home. Oh my God, they're popping out of everywhere. There's another one. Look at this guy. Oh, it's a girl. Oh my gosh. Okay, time to go. All right. Well, it seems like that one little girl dog, she did not want me here. She wanted me to get out of here. But it's not everyone, I can tell you that for sure. As I was actually making my way out and getting ready to leave, some people came out of the store from the back there, and they were talking to me and having conversations like, oh, who are you? Where'd you get that bike? Yada, yada, yada. And these guys are awesome. There's little guard dogs here. But they were not trying to keep me out. They love me. It was, I think their sister, their white little sister did not like me. So, but yeah, the people there liked me. So, going back to that, because this video is to touch on also the video that I did before this. Because remember, I made a video before I made this one. I had to get out here, right? I mean, you guys know I live in El Centro. So how did I get all the way out here? Well, again, as I mentioned earlier, I came out here to deliver a t-shirt, for Christian. But, what was I going to say? I forgot what I was saying. But anyway, so yeah, long story short, I was talking to the people there, very nice and very welcoming. But yeah, what I was saying is like at the last video that I was talking, the last video, the one that I filmed on my way over here that you probably already saw, was talking about the fact that like, how, what was I talking about?
Bruh.
Hey, geez, how embarrassing. I can't believe I completely spaced. All right, so back to what I was saying. So in the last episode, I was talking about how, you're probably never going to get 100% fully accepted out here, but that's not necessarily a bad thing. Again, I'll let you check out that video after this or before this or whatever, so you guys can see it for yourself and see the conversation. But anyways, but back to what I was saying, in this video, we're going to talk about the fact that, they're trying to keep you out of here. And who is they? Who is they that's trying to keep you out of here? Oh man, see, I'm already going the wrong way in the GPS, I think. So who exactly is they? And why are they trying to keep you out of here? Well, the reality is that, there's a lot of propaganda out there. There's a lot of, news. There's a lot of bots, robots, whether they are in the comment section of this video, in the comment section of any other video, they're all over the internet. There's all kinds of people. There's naysayers. There's all kinds of people that are trying to keep you out. Okay, there are even other Mexicans that don't want, any foreigners out here. They don't want any more any influence, because they think they were told, a lot of Mexicans were told, that, a lot of the reason that their lives might suck, okay, is simply because, it's gentrification. And gentrification that has been caused by, gringos and being caused by, Americans and Canadians and other foreigners. When we've talked about this in depth, on this channel multiple times, that's not the case at all. You know what I mean? Most of the growth and most of the investment and most of the money in Mexico, first of all, it's being brought, in by other Mexicans. Mexico is creating it on its own. But on top of that, the reality is that the gentrification is being caused by other Mexicans. The Mexican business owners are the ones that, raise the prices, change the menus, and change, so many things in order to appease a certain group of people. And that's just called business 101. It happens all over the world, no different out here. But that's not what we're talking about. That's not what we're talking about at all. We're talking about, we're not talking about gentrification. We're not talking about any of those things. We're talking about the fact that they're simply, trying to keep you out of Mexico. And who is they? Again, we've already kind of covered that. It's not the Mexicans. Sure, there are some Mexicans that might not, want you here. All right, let's see if we can. There might be some Mexicans that might not want you here per se, but that's not the case. It says to cut through the park here. I guess, yeah, okay, this is like a giant park. Let's get in the park, all right? Let's go. All right, let me see this. I got two paths. All right, let's go through the park path, all right, instead of going down this path, something a little different. But, the reality is that, there's a giant park that seems to be going, that traverses the whole, the whole city here. I've never really been through here. I guess this is a bike path. I don't know, whatever, we'll figure it out. All right, so let's just go through here. A little different view of things, since we've always wanted to check this place out. All right, anywho, so, back to what I was saying, your own government is probably the one that's trying to keep you out of Mexico, by, spreading all kinds of, misinformation and news about what life is like out here. So you're seeing right now all the things that are going on with the immigration issues in the USA, all right? And so all those issues that are happening right now in the USA, with the immigration stuff, a lot of people are making, writing to me, giving me, comments or messages or whatever, asking me, how the immigration situation is out here in Mexico. If simply, is it going to be the same? Are they going to start, deporting people? They're going to start going after people? They're going to start, this is a nice little park here, pretty cool. All right, anyways, they're going to start doing the same things that they're doing in the USA to the immigrants out here. And the reality is that, no, that's not the case at all. I don't think that that's, going to be happening at all. Because you're seeing it, all around you. The fact that, like, I live out here, and it seems like, okay, I'm pedaling. That's why I'm going a little slow here. I think I should be on the other side there. I don't even know. Anyways, so, you know what? I think we'll, how can I get to over there? I want to get to the streets. Let's see if we can get to the streets. But the reality is that that couldn't be any further from the truth. The reality is that, we've talked about it multiple times on the channel. It seems like, Mexico is only, opening up their borders more. They're going to be working on the immigration issues even more, to allow people to move out here better, easier, faster, quicker, all that, all that stuff. Because the reality is that, you've seen it. A lot of people, for example, they're scared of even moving to an area like this, the hood, which is, this is what the hood will be considered, just a lower income housing, lower income neighborhoods. And they think, oh, well, out here, I'm definitely not going to be accepted. I'm definitely not going to be taken in. They're definitely going to be racist towards me. They're definitely going to be horrible. And that's not true at all. Again, I show you, this is why so many people, ask me, it's like, well, why you always spend so much time in these neighborhoods and not as much time in the fancy neighborhoods? Because look, I'm gonna tell you straight up, I actually get more rejection sometimes, or I feel a little bit more rejected in the nice neighborhoods, in the fancy neighborhoods, in the money neighborhoods than I do here. Out here, like I said, it doesn't matter what the color of my skin is or where my background's from or where I'm from or anything like that. It's like, as long as I'm a nice person, I'm a good person, I get along with everybody. All these basic things that I talk about all the time on the channel, I got no problems out here at all. I very rarely have any kind of problems. And so anyway, so why do I come to these neighborhoods? Just to show you, how welcoming the people are, how nice the people are. You see me saying hi all the time, waving all the time. I try to, talk and show you or talk about, the fact when I have a conversation with somebody or talk to somebody. Sometimes not everybody wants to be on camera. Sometimes they do, sometimes they don't. But that's not the point. The point is that, like I said, I get more rejection from other Americans, and I get more rejection, from other, people, English-speaking people, about living out here than I do Mexicans. Mexicans don't reject me. Very rarely do I get like any kind of Mexicans rejecting me or hating on me or not liking me or whatever it is, So that's just the truth. All right, I think we came through here already before. Yeah, remember? There was a lot of traffic. So we got to cut through here. All right, I'm just gonna go. I don't even know anymore. It seems like everyone, at least out here, the driver is a little bit more cordial. Anyways, and so, I've done plenty of videos when I do like charity work and I'm hanging out with my friend David Tree, again, other Americans, other foreigners, from other parts, from Canada, from other parts of the world, whatever. And bike lane? All right, let's get in the bike lane, I guess. Other foreigners and stuff like that. And, you see how you're accepted, how you're loved, how people treat you. I show it all the time, and you see, like it's always love and welcoming out here. Again, from time to time, you're gonna see people in the comments, which again, I'm always asking myself, are those real Mexicans, real people in the comment section, leaving all those horrible comments? Or is it simply robots, bots, Russian bots, American bots, propaganda bots, whatever they are. And, you see it all over the place. And so, the reality is that, all right, we got to keep going this way here. The reality is that it's not, what people think. Again, the ones that are really trying to keep you out of here, you got to be 100% honest. Who is the ones that are really trying to keep you out of here? It's your family, your friends, other Americans, other Canadians, other people from your whatever. It's people that, you would think, care about you and want the best for you. And the reality is that they do. It's just that they're scared. They themselves believe the hype, believe the propaganda, believe whatever they want to believe. And they themselves think, that, just because they wouldn't come out here, just because they wouldn't, live this lifestyle, just because they wouldn't do these things, they're, projecting onto you like, hey, you're not, you shouldn't be doing it either. I read this quote a while ago. Okay, so what's up with this later? I read this quote a while ago, basically kind of saying that a lot of times, the people that know you best, your family, your friends, your whatever, the people that have known you the longest and know you best, they're the ones that are get in your way the most, because they know that you guys came from the same background, the same life, the same everything. You guys grew up together, whatever it is. And they cannot stand, they cannot even understand, they cannot even fathom the whole idea that you're doing better than them. So obviously, for anyone out there that thinks, like, hey, I'm gonna come out here to Mexico, live a better life, have a better everything, of course they can't even, conceive that or fathom that. So, they'll try to sabotage you. Now, not everybody, sometimes it's simply what it is that, they really do care about you. They really do love you. They really are worried. They really are scared. They really are, just, looking out for your best interest. At least that's the way it seems. But, again, just going back to, what do they know about what your best interest is, what do they know what's best for you, really, per se, you know what I mean? Only you know what's best for you. Only you know, what's in your best interest and all that stuff. And so, that's just the reality of it, you know what I mean? This is 100% the true reality of it. All right, one second. I want to check the GPS. I want to make sure we're going the right way. And so, look, the thing is that, like, a lot of times, when we think, who's trying to keep us out, who's trying to keep me out of Mexico, who's trying to, all right, we need to, who's doing this? The reality is that, it's other, it's your own kind, per se. And it goes beyond that. Look, I mean, have you guys seen The Matrix? I'm sure a lot of you guys have seen the movie The Matrix. And you guys see, that part where they're trying to talk about, explain, hey, Neo, this is why it's so difficult to wake people up and stuff like that. Because, there are so many people out there that are basically Agent Smith. Not that they want to be Agent Smith, but they are Agent Smiths. And there's a bunch of Agent Smiths all over the place that are basically constantly telling you, or they're at least regurgitating a lot of the stuff that the propaganda, the mainstream media stuff, about whatever it is. But in this case, it's about Mexico and trying to, dissuade you, trying to persuade you into not coming to Mexico, not moving out here, not living your best life, not bettering, not taking a chance, whatever. All the reasons, there's many reasons. There's many of you guys out there in the audience, and there's many reasons as to why anyone out there might want to come out here, and for a lot of you guys, the reality is that your own worst enemy is your own family and friends. Man, this bicycle goes very fast. Look at this. Wow. I'm going just as fast as that motorcycle almost. Like 40 kilometers per hour. Wow. This is crazy. All right. Pretty fast. I got to be careful. But anywho's. Yeah, so there's a lot of influences out there, and so look, I've talked about it before, like I said, I've been making videos on this topic since I moved out here. It's not just the fact that, you have all these entities, all these people, telling you not to do it, and basically going against you for all the reasons that they are doing it. But also the fact that, like, it's actually very difficult to get out of the USA or get out of your country. You're always going to be having ties to the USA. You're always going to have ties, to your homeland, to your home country, whether you like it or not. As much as I never want to go back to the USA, I got ties to the USA. And a lot of those ties are never going to leave. They're always just going to be there. That's just like a reality of it, like whether it's friends, family, whether it's I got to do taxes every year, whether it's, there's so many things. Right now with everything kind of getting a little crazy out there in the world, I'm trying to get my Mexican citizenship, before, I don't know, you know what I mean? Just in case, because being an American citizen, not so bueno. A lot of people will say, like, oh, why don't you just give up your citizenship? It's not that easy. Again, it's not that easy to give up ties with the USA. Let alone, do something like give up your citizenship or whatever. So, there's a lot of misconceptions out there that people have, about what it is, to leave, to leave the USA, to move to Mexico, all these things. Look at this guy. Get off your phone, man. Eesh. Anyways. Yeah, again, another reason I don't drive. I'm just... Anyways, so much easier and better on the bicycle here. Yeah, that guy's also on his phone. Everybody's on their phone, man. Ay, always on their phone. Anyway, so all right, whatever. What was I talking about? But yeah, so look, at the end of like again, as things change, they remain the same, right? You know, there's so many things about Mexico that are different, and so many things that are the same. That's why I like to bring up a lot as well. But look, again, just going back to the reality of it, you know, what's really trying to keep you out, what's keeping you out of here, is all these entities that have nothing to do with you. Because look, when you move out here, you got to remember that you have to, you have to assimilate. And like, look, I'll give you a quick example as to how they make it so difficult for you, okay? For example, when you go to other countries, okay, let's say Mexico or just another country, not only do they teach the native language, but they also like to teach another language, a very important language, whether it's English or whether it's Chinese or whatever. They're trying to prepare their people, for a better, for better opportunities, better life, better, all these things, right? So now think about it, the fact that, all of a sudden, in the USA, one of the reasons, one of the difficulties that a lot of you guys, whoa, speed bumps. Anyways, one of the difficulties, one of the problems a lot of you guys have in leaving, the USA and moving to, like, let's say Mexico, is the fact that you don't speak the language. But the reality is that not only should you have learned that in high school, but you should have, gotten pretty good at it, especially since it's the second most spoken language, not just in the USA, but the world. I mean, look, I'm not talking about Chinese right now. I mean, I don't know Chinese number one, whatever. But I mean, English and Spanish are very important. So out here, maybe in this region, you're not going to see as much English as other regions of Mexico, but a lot of people speak English. And I'm surprised sometimes when I meet Mexicans out here, oh, I'm from Puebla. Oh, I'm from, Mexico City. I'm from whatever. And they're like, man, you speak better English than some of my American friends.
Bruh.
How long have you been here? I mean, meaning, how long did you move back from the U.S.? It's like, no, what do you mean? I've only been to the U.S. to visit. And I'm like, oh, really? But anyways, all I'm saying is that, and so how many immigrants do you know, from all parts of the world, and they speak amazing English or Spanish or whatever, like, again, I know I've seen a lot of immigrants out here, Chinese immigrants, right? And these Chinese, they speak amazing Spanish. It's impeccable. It's incredible how great their Spanish is. And I could go on and on with all that, meaning that, the reality is that, the U.S., Canada, whatever, but the U.S. doesn't really prepare you. They're not preparing you with, like, learning another language, learning survival skills, learning like real economics, learning how to balance a checkbook, learning how to do any of these important things that people need for a regular, day-to-day, life. People out here, they learn all kinds of basic things. That's why you see, like, people even with the most basic education, people with even the most basic education, they're out here and they're able to become entrepreneurs, start a business, be independent, all these things. And then it's like, you tell as an American, hey, you can come out here and you can just start a quick little business, you can do a quick little whatever, there's a bunch of things that you can kind of do. And they're like, huh? What? What do you mean? What? Yeah, you know what I mean? And it's like, and it's not their fault. Look, some of you guys get it. Some of you guys have come out here and you're tearing it up like I am, There's so many opportunities out here. It's incredible. I talk about it all the time. You know what I mean? You got to go out there and work, There's no handouts out here. There's no government, freebies, none of that crap, all right? You got to go out there and you got to work. But if you're willing to work, if you're willing to put it in, if you're willing to put in that, then for sure, 100% you'll be successful. You'll be all right. Look at this guy selling bread out of his car. There's a bunch of things you can do. All kinds of things that people do all the time. I don't know what street. I think I got to go on this street. And so, and so it's just things like that. There's so many little things. So really, when it boils down to it, your own government, not only makes it extremely difficult for you to leave the country, once you leave the country, all the things that they make you do, make you go through, put up with, whatever, that makes it even more difficult. For example, as an American, I always gotta, do my taxes, no matter where I go. If I go to Mars, if I go to Antarctica, it doesn't matter. I gotta do my taxes. Oh, look, the bus turned off. Well, I think it's because it's manual. Who knows? Whatever. Anyways, it's pretty funny. We got the bus full of people. And so, out here, people, they live a certain lifestyle, And, you know, a lot. So, you know, it's funny as America, Canada is becoming poor, you know, meaning, you know, as the economy, you know, gets worse, as things get more difficult, and you guys are getting more poor. You know, the reality is that, you know, you guys are just learning to be poor. You know, there's so many people around the world. Again, you've seen most of the people in my video today. They're poor, you know, in one shape, form, or another. But are they really poor? Are they actually poor? You know, we've talked about it multiple times. They're probably richer than you. They're rich in life and they're rich in many other resources. But the reality is that the whole thing about, the whole thing about the poor situation, you know, the reality is that, you know, these people, they live within their means, okay? And some have, you know, more available to them than others, but they live within their means, whatever those means are, okay? Whatever that budget is, whatever that situation is. But for a lot of you guys out there in the USA, you guys have never learned how to live within your means. Sure, some of you guys live paycheck to paycheck and all that stuff, but look, the reality is that most people in the USA do not know how to live within their means. They do not know how to live really frugally, and also because and on top of that, they make it extremely difficult. They make it extremely difficult for you to do so, because really you're living poor, but it's almost like you're forced to live a certain way. And out here, people live poor, but they can have more time on their hands, a little bit more freedom. You know, if they want something, they can work a little harder, you know, work a little bit more, but their basic needs are met with just a small amount of money. And really, the more you make, the more you can have. A lot of times people make more money, but they don't spend it right away. They're just trying to save up to pay for this or pay for that, or just pay for their house and not have a mortgage. And in the US, it's like you can't live like that. You can't do that. I'm not faulting anyone out there. You know, I know how extremely difficult it is. And this is why, you know, I moved out here to begin with. And, you know, but now, you know, again, I say it all the time. It doesn't matter how expensive things get out here, or how, you know, how things change out here. I'm always going to want to live out here, you know, assuming, you know, it doesn't turn into the USA, but that's another story for another day. But yeah, long story short, you know, yeah, look at how much things have changed out here. Look how nice all the roads are. Look at this. Very nice. Very nice. A lot of change. All right, I'm gonna go. I'm on the bicycle. I'm just gonna pedal. All right, I'm not gonna wait there. But anyway, so, oh look, we're about to hit the zoo. This is like a big hospital, military hospital. That's right. There's a military hospital to my right, and all the way up ahead is the zoo that we've done a video at. I give you guys a tour of the zoo one day. Talking a lot of crap like I am today. But yeah, you know, the reality is like I made many videos on this. I've talked about this topic multiple times. I've given you guys, you know, many, you know, different kind of scenarios as to why it's so difficult. You know, why things are so difficult out here per se. You know, I mean, what things are so difficult for you to leave your country, to move out here, to live out here, to not just here, but anywhere. And a lot of it has to do with your own government and the way that they've prepared you or not prepared you, your lack of preparation, whatever. And that's just the true reality of it. All right, so the zoo to my right, we got the zoo all on my right. My right is the zoo. Just for some of you guys that, you know, curious. You know, I'll show you guys this entrance real quick here. So anyways, the zoo is free out here. All right. So we got the zoo, you know, it's free. All right, you guys can come out here whenever. All right. You got free snacks and souvenirs or whatever out here. Not free snacks, I'm sorry, but paid snacks and stuff. Along with the bus stop. Anywho, so yeah, guys, you know, the reality is that, you know, it's not what it seems like it is, you know. A lot of people out there, you know, they basically think it's like, oh, the Mexican government, they're making it difficult. And they're making it difficult because the U.S. government is making it difficult, or whatever it is, or whatever reason or excuse or whatever you say to yourself. But the reality is that, look, what it boils down to is that there's a lot of things that are making it very difficult, you know, for you to move out here. You know, your government is one of them that's, you know, they're obviously not making it any easier on you. You know, all these other extracurricular activities, entities around you are also not making it easy on you. No, this bus is not making it easy on me. You know, the reality is that, you know, that's the truth, you know. Whether it's, you know, you still got to pay your taxes, you know, whether you still got to, you know, report back to your country, you know, whether it's, you know, the fact that your friends and family are always asking you. I still get, look, my friends and family, maybe not as much, but I still get people in the comments or people that don't know me that well or whatever. You know, they're always asking me, hey, so when are you coming back to the USA? So when are you moving back home? So have you headed up in Mexico? Are you tired of living? I'm like, no, man, what are you talking about? What the hell are you talking about? It's only gotten 100 times worse in the USA since I've left. You know, when I left 7 years ago, even though it was very, very, very difficult, you know, the USA made it very difficult for me to leave. It was a lot easier to leave 7 years ago than it is today. And right now, I'm scared to even go back to the USA. You guys already know. You guys, when you go back to the USA, you get the 20 questions. You know, they're checking your phone. You know, they're giving you anal probes. You know, they're doing all kinds of things. You know, they're making it uncomfortable for you so that you don't want to travel, so that you don't want to move abroad, so you don't even think about it no more, so you can get that thought out of your brain, out of your mind. You know, like seriously, you know, they're trying to make you feel like a criminal, you know, for traveling, you know, for vacationing, for even thinking about moving these days. You know, the sentiment has changed a lot. I mean, they were already not, you know, very, you know, cool about it, but they're definitely not cool about it now these days. You know, it's definitely gotten a lot worse. And, you know, they've definitely gotten a lot more, you know, a lot less, you know, a lot less cool about it. And that's just like the true reality of things, you know, that, that, you know, the most difficult part of actually leaving. All right, I'm going to wait a little bit here. I'm going to see if traffic, I don't think traffic's going to get any better. I think it's just going to keep getting worse. Oh my goodness. But yeah, you know, that's the, okay, there we go. Yeah, okay, well, now we're going. All right. See, I like to do that, let the traffic, you know, behind me there's nobody now, really one or two cars, and just let the bulk of the traffic in front of me here. It makes it easier. Get out front here with the bikes and start wrapping this bad boy up, I guess. But yeah, you know, that's the thing, you know, a lot of people have a lot of misconceptions as to, you know, what is actually keeping them out of the country. You know, again, we've talked about this as well, you know, really, you know, a lot of times it's you. You know, it's your own fault, you know, meaning it's your own doing, you know, it's your own procrastinating, your own making excuses, your own, you know, always making, again, excuses, you know, always coming up with a different reason as to why you can't come out here, you know, why you can't move to Mexico, why you can't live in Mexico, why you're never going to make it, why it's going to be so difficult for you. Like I said, excuse after excuse after excuse. A lot of times you are your own worst enemy. That's just 100% the truth. And you know, what you need to start doing and start learning how to do is to start learning how to get out of your own way. Because that's just, again, you know, a lot of people, again, even everything that I talked about right now, right here, a lot of people, you know, those are their excuses. Oh, the government, whatever. Oh, my mom. Oh, my cousin. Oh, my this. Oh, my that. But there, I heard on the news. I heard here. I heard there. You know, it's always something. And, you know, the reality is that a lot of times it's like I said, you know, we are our own worst enemies. That's just the truth. And so we use all these excuses in order not to go through with what we need to go through. All right, you know what? I'm gonna do this here. One advantage of being on this bike here. It's all, you know, all road, all purpose, all road. Let's go. All right. So, you know, for me, you know, I had all those reasons, all those excuses, but at the end of the day, I wanted to be free. I wanted to get out of Dodge so bad. You know, I wanted to end that so much that I did whatever I could. I did whatever it took to get out of there. All right, let's, I can barely fit through here. Wow, this is very tight, super tight, super tight. No comment. All right. Trying to get ahead of everybody here. But yeah, you know, that's the thing. That's the true reality of it. You know, sometimes, you know, you're the one that gets in your own way, and you're the one that's creating all these, you know, barriers, you know, and making it more difficult on yourself than what you need it to be. And that's just the truth. And it doesn't have to be that way, guys. It does not. You know, you can actually, you know, have more control, okay, over your destiny. You have a lot more control over your life. And do not let all these things keep you out of your dream, you know, keep you away from following your, you know, your destiny or whatever. You know, and again, whether it's moving to Mexico or moving anywhere else. But that's just the truth, you know? So, all right, guys. Look at this, all this traffic. The traffic isn't as bad as I thought it would be. I thought it'd be a lot worse. Look, this is one thing I just don't like about El Centro is really, you know, all these people allowed to just park and do whatever the hell they want are here in the middle of the street. You know, there should be a little bit more enforcement, especially during traffic hours, high traffic hours, but whatever. Anyways, all right, let's go. Oh, is that a stop sign? Yeah, it is. Yeah, it doesn't even look like it's a stop. It looks like something else there. Well, anyways, all right, we're gonna start wrapping this up soon. Let me see. Yeah, I think that's. All right, yeah. Okay, we're gonna cross real quick here. No, maybe not. All right. Anyways, when's this thing gonna turn? Oh my gosh! Look at all this traffic out here. So much traffic. Look at this guy blocking. You know. So the center of the city is right over there. The main touristy center part of the whole city. That's the bus that takes you to the beach. They're actually coming back from the beach right now. All right, they stopped, so I guess I can go. Green light, green light. All right, let's go. All right, all right, all right. Yeah, I'm just looking for a quick spot here so I can wrap this bad boy up. All right, all right. We're right in the heart here. All right, let's park over here real quick here. Got a little bike. All right, so we can end this show, wrap this bad boy up real quick. All right, all right. I think I can park it. Yeah, we can park it. We got no buses behind me. The bus already passes right there. I'm at the bus stop. So, all right. All right, guys. So I really hope you guys enjoyed today's episode. I really hope you guys enjoyed today's conversation and, well, bike through the city. Again, we were all the way on the western side of the city and we made our way, well, back to El Centro, where we started last episode. I'm going to link that video at the end of this one so you guys can watch that one once you're done here if you haven't already. All right. And well, you guys already know where we are. You know, these are all the familiar sights and sounds of the city that you're accustomed to, and so on and so forth. So, all right, guys, we're going to wrap this up. I really hope you guys enjoyed today's video. I know it was a little bit more incoherent than usual, or not. You know, I usually don't know until I edit these guys out. But with that said, you know, it's a conversation that I've had multiple times here on the channel. This is not the first time I've talked about this, nor will it be the last time, because it's just the truth of the matter of what the situation is. So, it's simply put that it's you know, a lot of the reasons as to why a lot of us don't come out here have nothing to do with ourselves. You know, sure, we get in our way a lot of times, but they do make it. You know, again, our governments and all these entities that we talked about on the channel, I mean, on the video today, do really, you know, make it a lot more difficult than it really needs to be. But I digress. All right, it's time for me to wrap it up. As you guys can see, I already got the bike parked and I got the camera in my hand. So it's time to, you already know what the deal is, all right? Thanks again for all my members out there, all my patrons, every single one of you guys has helped contribute to the show and in every which way that you have. And that's it, guys. It's time to wrap it up. So you already know the deal. If you like this kind of content, don't forget to please like, please subscribe, please share, please hit the bell icon. But more importantly than anything else, please stay awesome. Thanks again for watching, and I'll see you guys on the next one. Bye, guys.